Hey everybody, welcome back to Esoteric Ramblings. I'm Jesse Arnold, and today I'm going to be giving you my review of the new Disney Animation Studio movie, Raya and the Last Dragon. Welcome back to Esoteric Ramblings. Today I'm going to ramble on a little bit about Raya and the Last Dragon, the new Disney animation movie that is in theaters, or if you have Disney Plus, you can get it for with Premiere Access. So my mom and I just watched this a couple hours ago, and it was wow. I remember seeing it in the list of things coming up for Disney movies, and I didn't know what it was. I thought it was Disney adapting some other anime or getting some other property, and they were adapting it to their thing, or like with the Studio Ghibli films, that they were just releasing it under their brand. And I wasn't really paying much attention to it, and then I saw, I guess it was the second trailer about 2 months ago, and I was hooked. Just the editing on the trailer, the visuals, the songs they used in those trailers just really caught my attention. And as soon as I saw that trailer, I went back and watched the first trailer, and I was like, okay, I've got to see this movie. I cannot wait. While I didn't do the premiere access for Mulan in the fall when that came out, I knew I would be doing it for this movie because Disney animation has been... I know I've talked about Star Wars a lot and Lord of the Rings and different things, but Disney has been as much a part of my life as everything else. You can't see it in this shot here, but I have a whole slew of Disney Pops up over here on this side of the room, and if you go back and check out my apartment tour, you can see them in there if you are so intrigued to do so. Speaking of Pops, I found this at GameStop last night on my way to my D&D game, and I'd been waiting to see some of these in person, and I grabbed it not knowing if I was even going to like the movie, but pretty sure I would. And yeah, I was not disappointed. This movie was everything I was hoping it would be. It's Disney animation, so there's always going to be a level and caliber of art and skill to it. And I know a lot of people out there who don't understand the concept of computer animation. Not that I know anything from personal experience, but from watching tons of behind the scenes and different, things like that. Like digital animation, CG animation is not just punching it all in the computer and away it goes. If you want a really good in-depth look at that and you're curious, check out the Frozen 2 behind the scenes. I think it's called Frozen 2 Into the Unknown. It's a 7 or 8 part like mini documentary series on the making of Frozen 2. And there's a really, really, really interesting storyline through that documentary, but you get to see a lot of really cool behind the scenes on how they actually do the animation. Obviously, you don't see the whole thing, but you get a lot, and you see the amount of effort and how many people, why those credits go on for as long as they do, because some people work on a 10-second clip or whatever it is, and they will spend months, if not years, perfecting that portion of the movie before someone else does the next section, so they have to line up. And it's really impressive what CG animation requires from people. And much like hand-drawn animation, like I will always have a love and respect for hand-drawn animation in the classic Disney style. It's what I grew up on. It's what interested me in animation and storytelling to begin with. And yeah, so just the level of quality that has just gone up and up and up since, I would say, Tangled in their 3D rendering animation is just phenomenal. I feel like Tangled was the first real breakthrough to make them look like 3D Disney characters come to life. And of course, Frozen 2, and so on has just kept pushing like Moana, and now Raya. The animation in Raya is, some of the shots look like you could just drop other characters from live action fantasy movies into those scenes and it would not look out of place. as long as the lighting was right. It's such a lush and beautiful movie from all the different locations and locales, and it's definitely a very Southeast Asian inspired story and content and designs. And I am by no means an expert on those cultures and regions, but I've seen enough things to know that that's where those are coming from, and it's beautiful. It's showing me things into through a fantasy lens of parts of our own world that I'm not familiar with. And I've watched a couple YouTube videos from people who are from those parts of the world who seem to be excited and giving those reactions and different things. And that was just to the trailer. So now that the movie is out, I'll be looking for some of them to see what they think of the actual movie. So if I think of it and remember to bookmark any of them or whatever, I'll try to put them in the comments later. But yeah, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil this movie. But you get a good idea of what the movie is going to be about from the trailer. And not that there aren't some twists and turns and surprises along the way, but it's just... I don't do a lot of talking about what's going on in the real world on this channel. That's not the point, but I'm also aware that things are going on and not everything is hunky-dory for everyone out there. And I know there's an increase in Asian and Pacific Islander racism in America right now. I'm not sure if that's in other parts of the world too, but especially here in America. And that is not good. It's bad. There's no reason for it. Racism across the board is horrible, and I don't even feel like I'm the right person to talk about these things, but seeing this movie is so based in Southeast Asian cultures that I hope it draws a lot of goodness and positivity for those people to, and by those people I mean people from those cultures in America, to grasp onto this, to see things. And at the end of the day, yes, it's just a movie, but movies can change lives. They can inspire people. That's why I love them so much. And I've always been taught to look for the qualities in characters, even if the characters don't represent me. And I know I'm a white middle-aged dude, and I can find that more easily than most other people, people who look like me in those things, but I'm generally not drawn to those characters. So that said, I'm glad more of these types of movies are coming out. I enjoy it. I love it. I embrace it, because like I don't need to see more movies with Kristoff and Hans and all these white dudes being like manly and heroic. I've seen it. Unless you do something really different with it, I kind of know how it's going to play out. That said, this movie is really cool. It's a fantasy movie. There's swords and dragons and armies and different realms and magic and all this stuff. It's all the things I love, or elements I love in stories, and it's Disney, and they do those things so incredibly well. It's almost 2 hours long, and there's no musical segments. There's no singing. There's no song and dance routines. It is an almost 2 hour long Disney animated action adventure. And I know they tried this with The Black Cauldron back in the 80s, and that adaptation was abysmal. I love the animation in it, and at the time I didn't know any better. I liked the story, but then I got into the books, and they've become my favorite book series, and it's just such a bad handling of the source material. Not saying it needs to be exactly like the books, but it's really bad. And I know Disney doesn't do a lot of under the Disney animation for their big push movies that aren't the classic fairy tale princess movies or fairy tale stories, with the songs and all that stuff, and that's totally fine because I love all those. But this one, like I said, it's an almost 2-hour epic adventure fantasy movie with tons of great elements, and I love that it does have some of the Asian films that I have seen vibes and elements to that. It doesn't just feel like, oh, here's Lord of the Rings with Asian characters. It's totally its own thing, and it's got a unique flavor to it. Please don't hate me, but I've never watched Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's not true. I got a free screening to the movie before it was finished, whenever that came out 10 plus years ago. And I wasn't impressed by the movie, but it made me start watching the cartoon. So I started watching the animated series. I think I got 3 or 4 episodes in, and stuff in life happened, and I've never gone back to it. But I was really impressed, and someday I will watch it. And I know that's largely inspired by anime and Asian cultures. So I know a lot of people were comparing what they saw from Raya to that. I can't make those comparisons. I know she has the braids or the little hair pieces coming down in the trailer and at the beginning of the movie, and that's very similar to some of the characters I've seen from Avatar, but that's about the only thing I picked up on that was Avatar-like. I'm sure for anyone out there who's a huge fan of Avatar, you can probably tell me all the things I'm missing out on, and I will. I have nothing against that show. I just haven't gotten to it yet, but I will eventually, someday, I hope, because I did enjoy what I did see of it. So, but yeah, right. It's great. It's a Raya and the Last Dragon. It's not a complicated story. It has a bit of a flashback, build up, prelude kind of thing, prologue, and it's great. I love it. It's really sets up the richness of this world, and then we get right into the action and the story, and it just keeps going. I don't feel like I was ever bored for a moment. I laughed a good bit. There's a lot of great action. And I know my mom and I watched it, and we talked about it during the credits as we were watching. There is no post-credit scene, so there's no little fun thing at the end. But I always encourage people to watch the credits, although I'm a little ashamed I didn't finish the WandaVision ones yesterday, so I missed that second bit, but I thought we had moved on. But that was my own little snafu, so... normally I watch movie credits. I will stay in the theater even if it's not a Marvel movie, and even if I have no hope of there being an end credit scene, usually watch the credits because all those people really worked hard on that thing you just watched. So that said, we were talking through the end about what we thought about the movie, and it was probably 10 or 15 minutes after the credits ended, and I could still feel my heart like pounding in my chest. It just really worked me up that much. I know I'm a fairly sensitive guy to these sorts of things, and that's not a big surprise, but that's, to me, kind of one of the highest marks I can pay on a movie is if I was so emotionally invested that I'm still physically feeling the repercussions of the movie 15 minutes later, and it's not just talking about it. So yeah, because that's I'll get into a whole video on that someday, but the way I kind of rate movies are how they make me feel, how I feel about it, how I feel about the characters, how it makes me feel about myself and what I want to do with my life. And it can be one of the best technically made, performed, acted, directed movies, but if it doesn't hit me in the right way, it doesn't register for me. But I'm not talking about that other than to point out this movie hit all the right chords for me. And I just can't say enough about how beautiful the visuals of the movie are, how beautiful the story is, and the message of the movie. I think it's a story that has a message that's very important right now, just in general for the world and for America. I think it's something we all need to really listen to, and And again, I know it's a fantasy movie, it's a story, but there's truth in stories. One of my favorite scenes in movies is from Secondhand Lions. And I'm drawing a blank on characters' names at this point, but the young boy is talking to his uncles about the stories that they've been telling him, and he's like, were any of them true? You know, or did you just make them up? And he's like, well, just because something's made up doesn't mean it's not true. And I think this movie is one of those stories where it might not have been a story that actually happened, but the message of the story is true. And it is a Disney movie, so it does, it is a little more playful, it is a little easier of a story. I mean, there's definitely challenge and obstacles to overcome, and it'd be nice if the real world could work out the way a movie like this happens, but there's a lot of pain and suffering based on the choices the characters make in this movie. And I don't just mean the villains, the heroes make some mistakes too, and I think that's a really good thing. The heroes aren't perfect. And I like those kind of flawed heroes as opposed to the other kind of flawed, darker heroes who are just angry or brooding or drinking all the time or whatever. But that said, Raya and the Last Dragon, I highly recommend it. It is a beautiful 2-hour animated movie about trust and friendship and trying to heal and bring goodness and unity back into the world. And I can't think of a better story right now than that, that we could all watch and enjoy and hopefully take some lessons from and learn from. So yeah, I'm gonna end it there. That's been my ramble on Raya and the Last Dragon. I know I'm gonna have to watch it a couple more times. I will watch it. I don't have to. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to enjoy it. And I know it's definitely on my top 10 Disney animated movies. I don't know where on that list it's fallen yet. I'm going to have to watch it a few more times, but it's definitely up there. At least in the top 10, if not the top 5. So yeah. That's my glowing recommendation for Raya and the Last Dragon. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. I can't wait for a behind the scenes whatever to come out on this movie, especially with all the rich cultural heritage they brought into it. I really appreciated the behind the scenes for Moana about that, and the behind the scenes on Frozen 2, how they got into the things with the Sami people, because you can't travel everywhere in the world, and it's nice to see these things presented through the lens of the entertainment I watch and enjoy, and to learn more about the cultures those things are coming from. So that's it. That's my ramble for Raya and the Last Dragon. I hope that if you get a chance to watch it, you enjoy it. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll be back at some point. Well, I'll be back with the comic rundown for week 10 and other things later this week. So that's it. Catch you next time. Ramble on.